Now, David Bowie is back. The man who brought us Ziggy Stardust, The Man Who Fell to Earth, The Thin White Duke and Tin Machine has emerged from a decade of musical silence with a new single and an album to follow. He and his record company chose today, his 66th birthday, to release the song Where Are We Now and the accompanying music video. Here's our culture editor, Matthew Kane.
Where are we now? Where are we now?
It's a novel way of brightening up a dull January birthday. To celebrate turning 66, David Bowie has come out of retirement and released this single, Where Are We Now? His first new music in a decade. It's a mournful ballad which reflects on the time he spent living in Berlin in the 70s, and it was produced by his long-term collaborator Tony Visconti.
As long as there's me.
It feels age appropriate. It feels like a man looking back wistfully at a certain time in his life. Of course, with David Bowie lyrics, it's somewhat indecipherable. I mean, decoding a David Bowie lyric can often be like breaking the Enigma code, but it certainly seems to hark to that great time of his life where he made those classic albums in Berlin.
20,000 people, crossbows and Booker.
A new album, The Next Day, will follow the single in March. In the same month, an exhibition will open at London's Victoria and Albert Museum, featuring costumes, photography and handwritten lyrics from Bowie's personal archive. Today, a spokesperson for David Bowie has said he's the kind of artist who writes and performs what he wants, when he wants. But the release of the new single has come without any advance warning during a quiet period for the music industry, which could have been planned for maximum impact. And can it be a coincidence that the release of the album is scheduled for the same month as the exhibition opens here at the V&A?
It's a freaky show. Is there life on Mars?
David Bowie became a global superstar in the early 70s. His Ziggy Stardust alter ego pioneered the trend for reinvention, which has since defined the careers of so many pop stars.
He seemed to capture that spirit of the 1970s, I suppose, when things were a little depressed, and he looked fantastic, and he had this individualism, I think, about him, which really captured the spirit of the time.
As long as there's me.
Bowie's career dipped in the late 80s and a heart attack ended his last world tour in 2004. Since then, he's rarely been seen in public and he isn't expected to attend the opening of the exhibition at the V&A. Fans might just have to make do with the birthday single. But at least it beats blowing out candles on a cake.
Well, I'm joined now by the singer and musician Steve Strange, who appeared in the video for David Bowie's Ashes to Ashes, and the former NME editor, who's now features editor at the Sunday Times, Chrissy Morrison. But Steve Strange, how much have you missed him?
Quite a lot, actually. When we had all of that press intrusion about his health, I did get quite worried. Obviously, being in this sort of media circus myself, I did sort of tend to think, is it exaggerated or not? Are we going to lose him?
But he looks pretty good in this, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, and then I had confirmation. He told me not to worry, he's fine, and that made me a lot happier. And yeah, he looks great. And when I got the call this morning at 7 o'clock, today's been like a media circus. It's been crazy.
Well, talking media circus, I mean, we've got used to pop stars relentlessly communicating with their fans by social networking sites and so on. This absence of 10 years is perverse, but it's also been alluring, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the myth of David Bowie has grown so much in this time. And I think, you know, people were very worried that we'd heard his last work, he would not be doing anything else again. So it really, you know, I've never got out of bed quicker than I did this morning when I heard on the radio this news had happened. It's so exciting. It was like when you're a kid and it's Christmas. It was amazing.
And he does, obviously, after 10 years, he does sound older, but do you think he's shown people how to grow old gracefully in this video?
I think so, and I also think what he's doing, like myself, I look at the people, the longevity of his so-called, I call them friends, the fans, And where he hasn't done anything for so long, I think where people give somebody a birthday present, he is giving a birthday present to his friends, i.e. the fans, to say thank you for your longevity and the wait.
And they've gone wild today,
And they've
haven't they?
absolutely, whoever created this genius marketing ploy, I am very envious because of my new album in March, which is quite ironic because Fade to Grey and Ashes to Ashes, which I appeared in, come out together. So it's a sort of a clash of the Pierrots in March.
Let me ask you, who do you think, there's been a lot of speculation about the woman in the video.
I know.
Who do you think that is? I mean, Bjork's been mentioned.
Where I've done the rounds today, and now I've come here, and I've seen it on that huge screen, it does look very much like Bjork, but I don't really know.
Chrissy, what's your bet?
I'm not so sure. No, I don't think it does. Right there it does, but no, I don't think so.
Who do you think it is then?
I have no idea.
I think that's the myth, though,
Yeah.
what Bowie's created. Again, I think he's done it on purpose. He's most probably, not being rude about the lady, but it's most probably...
Someone random. What's interesting about the video is that he appears in this T-shirt, really sort of pared down, looks like there's no makeup, and yet we've known him in these lavish costumes.
Yes.
It's almost as if he's consigned that to his youth. What do you think?
Well, it's also, the video is very interesting because obviously it shows lots of scenes from Berlin, and it's him revisiting. Obviously, he spent a lot of time in Berlin, made 3 albums there, and it's him very nostalgic in a way, the video, looking back on these places that he once trawled, those places that he lived in, that you see the outside views of. So it's interesting because the one thing Bowie's never done in his career before is be nostalgic and reflective and look back, and he is doing that here.
Can I interrupt?
You sure
Yeah,
can.
because he's a very, very clever magpie, and he admits this. And it's funny that you admitted about Berlin. He spent time there with the Low album, which he admits was very inspired by Kraftwerk, with other albums like The Tin Machine, which was very punk-inspired. And then, obviously, the Ashes to Ashes, the Scary Monsters, was the New Romantics. So but he admits to being a magpie.
Did you have any inkling that this was afoot? I mean,
No,
you said you were really excited.
I was so excited, but last night on Twitter there were a few little rumours doing the rounds, but everyone I know within the industry was quashing them and saying, no, don't be ridiculous. So I didn't believe it. And I think that's amazing because, I've been speaking to his people recently and never a whisper.
Chrissy Morrison, Steve Strange, thank you very much for joining us.
Happy birthday, Mr. Bowie.